Hello everybody, Thy Lord Root here, and today we are going to create a vessel for docking. In this KSP tutorial, I figured it might be good to do docking before we actually did any station building, as I promised. That will come soon, however. And the key thing for this is we've got to have one of these Clampotron docking ports. So you pick the one that is most, I guess, like the node you want to use. This is a 1.25 meter node here. This is a 2.5 meter. But this docking node here is just right. It's 0.625 meters and it can fit on top of the capsule, which is very good for us. Additionally, we're going to do all the things that we would normally do. For instance, I'm going to put some parachutes here on the side, like so. And it seems that I've turned this around. I'm just going to do like that, and maybe recess it into the capsule just a little bit. Just holding down shift to do so. And then a nose cone would be good to have on this thing, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the stack separator like so, and I'm going to go down to aerodynamic and pick this really tiny nose cone here. Well, I guess I don't have this down all the way. There we go. So that's going to be our rendezvous, part of our rendezvous craft. There's some things we might want to do here. So for instance, we have this deal going on to where we would like to have some kind of, I guess, fuel reserve for our RCS. And one thing we could do is we could maybe create this guy here. I'm going to put it on a small decoupler. And, at first you might ask, well, why are you even going through the trouble of doing this? Because it's not a very pleasant thing to look at. But it turns out that in addition to our RCS fuel here, or RCS jets, we have these guys right here that will basically serve as these jets. Now we could even go further here, but a few things we want. We definitely want reaction control, because reaction control makes this a little bit easier. So I'm going to go like that. And underneath that I'm going to build a stage of some kind. Maybe stick this into fairings. So I'm going to pre-build most of the rest of this once I get it going, and I will probably launch. Show you the launch, maybe part of it at least, but we've seen enough launches, so I think you at least have an idea of how these things should go, and I'm going to omit it. So we'll leave that for now, and I will see you after I get this guy into space. Okay, we're about to run out of fuel soon. Maybe about now. And I think it's a good idea for us to attempt to maybe get up into orbit as quickly as we can. I'm just going to nose up. I'm going to shoot for about 100-kilometer orbit. That is probably the best thing for us to go for. We definitely did go a little bit too shallow here, so we should raise this up. In fact, I'm going to lower our periapsis some. as that should help just a little bit. Now, if we run out of fuel here, there is at least the fact that we have RCS jets on here. That'll really be all we need. But I'm going to pull up just a little bit, as it does look like we will run out of fuel, possibly. And we're going to get ourselves into a nice circular orbit. Or something like that. So we will stop around 100 or so. And we're getting pretty close to getting out of the atmosphere. I'm going to maintain that height just a little bit. As we're kind of in a bad situation right now because we went in a little bit too shallow. But yeah, I'll probably warp to Apoapsis, let you know where we end up, and that will be that. Okay, we are roughly in the orbit we want to be in, and I think it is time for us to go to the Space Center and send up another Kerbinot. This time, of course, we are going to make sure that we are roughly in orbit. I'm going to add one more thing to this, because we're likely to run out of power, and that is launch clamps. One of the nice things about the launch clamps is that they will keep you nice and powered up if you have to wait long periods of time. And I think I will save this. I'll put Valentina in the cockpit, and we'll get ready to go. So the easiest way to rendezvous with something in orbit, actually let me revert that real quick. Let me turn that around the other way. The easiest way for us to rendezvous is to, there we go, is to wait until these guys are right under us, maybe by like 5 degrees, and we'll either end up ahead or behind. So I'm going to select this guy here. We'll call this guy Ronnie Jr. Where is it? Rename vessel. And this guy's halfway around the planet. So what we'll do is we'll wait until this guy is pretty close in. Maybe about here. And I think that is, it's about as close as we want to be. We'll get a little bit closer. And we will launch. And we'll have to do a little bit of an inclination correction because of the way we're going here. But we will try our best to get up into the appropriate orbit. You can see right now we're very, very highly inclined. Alright, let's get our gravity turn going. We will probably be in a little bit higher of an orbit than we want to, but that's okay. Let's just discard these guys. The way I'm thinking is that, let's just bring this guy up here. But the way I'm thinking is that we will catch up with this guy as soon as we can. Now, if this guy is ahead of us, what orbit we end up in is going to largely depend on, no, it's going to depend on really where the guy is above us. So, let's just see, this guy is ahead of us, so we will want a lower orbit. There's not much delta V there, so I'm just going to, I'm going to discard that stage, I think. Because that stage is almost spent. Now there are a few things we can do here. Once we get to Apoapsis, we want to, oh, there we go. We'll just burn out, and you'll see we've got new markers here. And when these guys line up, like so, you can hover over them. You usually want to get under 10 kilometers. The closer you can get, the better. It'll take some moving around here. You can see we're slightly closer in than we used to be. But we need to act quickly here. So I'm going to leave this guy like that. And I'm going to attempt to push it in just a little bit further. You can also use your radial here to make adjustments as necessary. That's 464 meters per second. That's largely because of the approach I took. Wasn't the best approach, but it'll do for now. And we will just continue to burn. I forgot to turn on those engines. Which could make all of the difference in the world. You can see though, we are right on top of the sky. That pink marker there is our target vector. We are burning directly towards the target. And from here on out, what we'd like to do is get as close as we can. Let's just see how close we are now. We can adjust this by burning towards the target. And if we can get in real close, that would be good. This is about as close as you can reasonably expect in most cases, although we're pretty close. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to warp to this point in the orbit. And you can see we're getting just a little bit closer. And this is one problem here. We are beginning to lose altitude due to drag. That's one thing that you would rather not have to deal with. That is, if you can avoid it. You can see our time to the node is actually increasing just a little bit. We can... let drag burn some of that off. Now, if you're going too far towards the sky, what you can do is you have target prograde here. You have the target retrograde, and that'll become important pretty soon. For now, we just want to point target prograde. And maybe make a correction or two. And we are back in orbit. So we have about 10 minutes. I think it is best if we warp around. And now if you look down our nav ball, you can see we have some target velocity, and that is decreasing just a little bit. Best to warp out to a minute or so before you hit this intercept. Even a minute 15 seconds is good. So now we have the task of getting ourselves close by. And one way you can do this is you see this little pink marker here. You can do two things. You can burn towards the target, which will increase your velocity just a little bit. Or another thing you may wish to do as you get close is you may wish to push the retrograde marker to the target retrograde. We want to do the latter because we still have a fair amount of time until we reach that point. So what we're going to basically do is we're matching up velocity here. And we're just trying to get ourselves into the same orbit. Now, whenever you burn retrograde like that, or burn towards your retrograde marker, it moves your retrograde marker away from you and your prograde marker in the direction that you are burning. So in this case, it's good. You know, we're at 0.2 kilometers at this point. And the game has sort of gone crazy on us. There we go. We are now at the point where we can see Ronnie. If we look around for him, in fact, the easiest way to do it is to just point in his general direction. And you can see Ronnie is over here. Now, we are coming in with a lot of velocity. Not as much as we could, but it's enough to possibly be a problem. So, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to line my craft up and decrease my velocity at the same time. You can see here we should have 0.1 kilometers away. However you decide to brake, at this point you want to be under 20 kilometers, more likely around 10 or 5. It depends on how long you have to wait here, and you can just sort of time warp through this if you can't be bothered to wait. As you move through the orbit, you will find that, there we go. You'll sometimes find that you are going to lose speed, and you can also use your RCS, and in this case I'm going to hit L here to line this guy up. So it's important that we stay pointed in the direction of Ronnie here. If we look at our map now, we should be at 0 kilometers, which is an error of no more than 50 meters because of the way the game does its rounding. We can actually see Ronnie at this point. And it's really just a matter of us keeping ourselves aligned and deciding the best point to brake. Because as it stands, we will crash into Ronnie if we are not careful. Now, part of the issue here is that burning towards Ronnie can actually get you further off course if you're not careful. You can only get close to a certain degree. But I think, given this distance, we will need to slow down fairly soon. It looks like we are incidentally pointing the right way. So I'm going to make this easy on myself. If you right click on the other docking port, then you can target it, and that gives you a finer grain view of this. Now we want to be both lined up with Ronnie and pointing in the same direction, which, as luck would have it, we are pretty close to. doing. Ronnie may be pointing some other direction. But we're getting close, so I'm going to hit N to slow the craft down. And I think we will we'll have this guy point towards the target. It will use a ton of RCS if we're not careful. And I'm just going to slow on down here. You can see we're kind of doing this station keeping thing right now. And we want to maybe very slowly, no greater than 0.3 meters per second at least. We want to very slowly get this guy lined up. And there we go. Whenever you get close enough and you're pointed in the right direction, the magnetism on the docking ports will keep you aligned. And you can move these guys around as a single unit here. Now, of course, in this case I happen to be aligned pretty well. That is not usually the case with docking ports. But, yeah. This is a good position to be. Let's try one more docking maneuver. Let's say that you want to, you're not as lucky as I am. Let's right click to undock this guy. And let's say, I have enough reaction wheels on this guy to pick up where it's going to be. Well, if you put it here on your normal vector, it'll pretty much stay in place and just rotate around. Now, meanwhile, we want to target this guy here. And the idea is, oh, there we go. I keep on forgetting we have to turn SAS back on. This guy's pointed north, so we know that we must be pointing south. And so what we're going to do is we're going to burn in the direction here. We're going to scoot back just a little bit. And try to get this guy lined up. Probably good for us to be moving up like this. And let's move towards Ronnie just a little bit. see here our RCS jets are quite sprightly. But we're moving in Ronnie's general direction here. And if we can push this guy down like this, and I'm just going to back up a bit. You know, this guy is going to be pretty close here. So the docking magnetism usually does the trick for you as long as you're relatively aligned. And you can bring these guys around. You can treat them as a unit. Although I wouldn't recommend it. Now we have 2 capsules. What you'll notice here is well, we can't really see into our own deal here, but if you hit V, you can see we're looking at 2 completely different capsules. That's how you switch between capsules in IVA view. So I think next time we'll probably do the space station. I think that that's a good point, but I did want to at least get the docking performed here. And with that having been said, this has been Thy Lord Root, and I will see you later.